Okay, today we are going to start entering the notes into Noteflight from our transcription. Here is the transcription of what we are working with, the piece called Twice in a While. And let me just zoom out here for a second so that we can take a look at this. I'll have to move this over, bear with me. And come on. This piece. Okay, here we go. Okay, so the first thing that I want to do in setting up my piece is we have to set up the page. Before we can enter any notes, we have to set up the page, we have to set up the entire piece. Otherwise, we're going to create problems that we would just spend hours and hours and hours going back and fixing. So the first thing we want to do is we're going to work right from the top of the page. We need to put a title. So click on title and type in the title of this piece, which is Twice in a While. You can leave subtitle empty. Okay. Go over to composer and let's put the composer's name. His name is Oz Noy. And then where it says your name, we're going to go over to lyricist and you're going to type your name. Okay, I'm just going to put Mr. R for right now. Okay, now, the only thing that I'm going to do that's slightly different, and it's only because I have another one that I actually saved. So I'm going to go here. You don't have to do this, but I'm going to go to the title, and I'm going to just put like a -1 so I know that this is like a different version of it. Okay, but you guys should have, you don't need to put a -1 because yours should be just the only one you're saving. But if you had another one, like let's say you already started working on it and you want to put something that lets you know that it's a different one, you can't save both of them as Twice in a While, or I don't know if you can. It doesn't make a difference. I would just put something so that when you go back in to look at your scores, you know exactly which one, the one that we're working on. So you can put either today's date or just put a number 1, whatever you want to do. Now, the next thing you should do is, remember I told you, only keep open the 3 palettes that I have right here, duration, pitch, and measure. You don't need anything more than that, and it's just going to crowd things by having, a lot of palettes open. So just only keep those open, okay? I'm at the point right now where I want to start putting the, setting up the rest of the piece. So when I look at this piece right now, let me zoom out a little bit so I can see the whole thing. How many measures is this piece? How many measures is the original piece? Anyone know? Yeah, 16, right. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So the first thing that I should probably do is add more measures to this so that I have all 16 measures. Right now I only have 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I have 4 and I need 16, I have to add how many more? 12, there you go. So I'm going to come right over to the measure palette, and the very first button, if I hover over it, you'll see it says add measure after. I'm going to click this button right here 12 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay. Now it doesn't look exactly like the one that I have in the original PDF. So what I'm going to do is this. Let's go to the 4th measure. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just click in it one time so it's highlighted like that. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to hit my enter key. Okay, so that I have first 4 measures on the first line. I'll do the same thing on the following lines. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hit enter. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hit enter. And obviously I don't have to do it on my last line. Now it's broken down exactly the way the PDF looks. 4 measures, 4 measures, 4 measures, and 4 measures. Okay. At this point, this is a very, very good practice and a good habit to get into. At this point, come up to the very top and click on your save button. You'll see that it's black right now. Once I click on it, now it's gray. Once it's gray, that means there have been no changes and everything is saved. okay? Noteflight will not automatically save your work, so please get in the habit of clicking this periodically. Okay, now we're ready to really continue like putting our piece together to set everything up. You will notice that in this piece, there are two main things that I need to change. The first thing that I need to do is I need to make sure that my last measure is in a different time signature. You see how the last measure is in 6/4? So I'm going to go down to the very last measure and click in it so it's highlighted. And then I'm going to come up to my measure palette again, and I'll hover over the buttons until I get to this one, which says change time signature. And if I click on it, I want to change that first number to 6. And click OK. You will notice that now my last measure looks just like the last measure in this piece. It's in 6/4. Okay. And we're ready to start getting to work here. Okay. Before I even get to work on the staff, notice how this tempo equals quarter note equals 90. What I'm going to do right here is I am going to double click on where it says 120, and I'm going to just change this to say 90. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to click one time in between the two stabs right here so that nothing on my page is orange. Okay, did you notice before what the tempo marking was orange? I don't want that to be orange. I want to click here so that nothing on my page is orange. The reason I'm doing that is that with nothing highlighted, the first thing I want to do is I want to enter in the key signature, which is right here. That is the one that is right next to the clef. So I'm going to come up here on my measure toolbar, and I want to click change key signature. And I want to match the key signature to the one on the PDF. Okay, and that's going to be the one that has 4 flats, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's key of A flat. So I click on it, and then I click OK. You will notice that now it has changed my key signature. You see it in the beginning of every line, but there's a problem. The original piece only has that key of A flat or F minor for the first 8 measures. Then it changes to the key of C or A minor. You'll see right here with this, what they call a courtesy key signature. Okay. In order for me to do that, I have to come down and click in measure 9. And then I'm going to hold my shift key and click in the base clef of the last measure. And that should do that. It should highlight measures 9 through 16. Once those measures are highlighted, I'm going to come back to change key signature. And I'm going to click on that. And I want to just change the key signature to the first one right here, which is the key of C. No sharps, no flats. And click OK. And you will notice that at the end of measure 8, okay, it has added the what they call the courtesy key signature right here. And then from measures 9 through 16, there's nothing in the key signature. No sharps, no flats. Okay? At this point, we're going to come up and we're going to click Save again. We're at the point right now where we're going to start to enter in notes. Okay? And when I'm entering notes, it is a good practice to zoom in so that you are only working on the one measure that you're working on. I don't need to see 16 measures. I need to only see the one measure. Guys, I'm going to ask right now, don't talk and don't interrupt because I'm trying to go through the video. So you will have the video to review, but you have to pay attention right now. If you miss something, just wait until you can review it on the video. I don't want to have interruptions recorded on this video. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is on my PDF, I want to use the plus button at the bottom. And I am going to zoom in so that I am only looking at pretty much the first measure. Okay? That's probably not bad. I can do that. Mute your Chromebooks, please, so I don't hear them. Okay. And this should be enough. There we go. And now I'm just looking at basically just the first measure. Well, on Noteflight, I do not want you to use the Control and plus button to zoom in, because if I did, watch what happens. Okay, if I use Control plus to zoom like many of you do, the problem is what's happening to my palettes? Someone tell me what's happening to the palettes.
They're staying the same.
Are they staying the same?
Because you can't really see.
I can't see them, right? Because they're zooming in with the piece. So what I want to do is I'm going to go back to my original size. You're going to use the zoom function in Noteflight, which is right up here. It's pinned to the top. So if you click on zoom, now watch what happens when I slide this bar over. Notice how my palettes don't move. The palettes stay the same, only the piece moves. So this is what I want to do. I want to make it so that I'm looking at the first measure of my piece, just like this. Now I'm ready to start entering notes in, and I am working from left to right. You cannot skip around. You will create large problems if you do that. So the first thing I want to do is I want to enter this first chord, which, by the way, we need to know what duration this is. So what kind of note is this? Rhythmically, what kind of note is this? I'll give you a hint. You could look on my closet door, and there is one over there that actually has, it's a hollow note that has a stem on it. And what kind of note is that? Yeah, a half note. Good. So I need to create this chord and make sure that it's a half note and no other value or no other duration, only a half note. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click in the first measure, and you'll notice that there is a cursor that's blinking. If I bring my mouse real close to the cursor, all of a sudden this little gray note appears and it follows my mouse up and down. Okay? I want to bring it to the note that I need, which is going to be right here. It's a G, and I'm going to click. And by default, you'll notice that it makes it a quarter note. It's not a half note. But notice how it's also orange. When a note is orange, that's the only time that we can make alterations to it. So with that note being orange, I'm going to come up to my duration toolbar, and I'm going to click on half note. And now it has made that note a half note. What I need to do now is I need to continue making all the notes that are under that G. So I'm going to go back and click on the G. You'll notice that my cursor moved back over. And now I'm going to just line up the other notes that I need. I need this note, which is a C. Click on the note again to move the cursor back. Click on the next note, which is going to be an A flat. Click on the cursor again to move it back. Go down and put the E flat. And now you'll notice that my first chord that I have here is the same as my first chord that I have here. At this point, I can move on to the second chord, which is going to be a B flat. Click on it again to move the cursor back, make an E flat underneath it. Click on the cursor, make the B flat underneath it. Click on the cursor, go down and make a D underneath it. Click on, move the cursor back and make the C underneath it. Now my treble clef first measure looks exactly like the way it does here. Okay? I'm going to go down to bass clef and I'll put my two bass clef notes in. Again, I need to make this a half note and one which is a C. Okay? Now remember, like I said before, good practice at this point, click the save button. Okay? It's time to move into measure 2. Okay, I'm in the second measure now. Here's my second measure here. The second measure starts off with these three notes, which are, what duration note is this? And does anyone know what that is? It's a note that's either connected by either one beam or one flag. Do you see anything on my closet door that has a note that is solid in the middle and has a flag on it? Yes. An eighth note, correct. Okay. So I want to come over here and I'm going to make this note and I want to make it an eighth note. So I come up here and I make it an eighth note. Now, don't be concerned with the fact that the stem is going down. The stem going up or down does not change the way a note will sound. I can write the same line of music with all the stems going up. I can write it with all the stems going down. I can write it in a mixed combination. It would never change the notes as long as the duration of the note is the same, meaning that if it's an eighth note, it's an eighth note. If it's a quarter note, it's a quarter note. So with this note, I have to add the other two notes. Okay, so there's a G underneath it. Same process as last measure. Click on the note to move the cursor back. I'm going to click on it again. I'm going to put the A flat down here. Okay. At this point, we want to make this next note, which is also an eighth note, and that's going to be a C. So right here, don't skip over this rest. Whatever you do, don't skip over. Remember, we're working left to right. Excuse me. So click on the C. Okay. And now you'll notice that this C has a little, if you want to call it like a smiley face, it's called a tie underneath it. So with this note being orange, I can come up to my duration toolbar, and there's the symbol for it right there. Click on tie. Right now the tie is not connected to anything because we don't have another note. But now I'm going to enter this note in. This is another eighth note, which is a C. So I'm going to come right here and enter this note, and notice how it already made it an eighth note. And now I have to get to the point where I'm going to put this chord, which by the way is another eighth note. Okay, so I'm going to start at the top, put my G, then I'm going to put the D. And while I'm on the D and it's highlighted, you'll notice that this D has a natural sign next to it. So with over here with this one being highlighted, I'm going to go to my pitch toolbar and just click the natural. That will put a natural sign next to it. Then I'll click on it again to move the cursor back, put my B flat, click on it again, move the cursor back and put my G, click on it again and come all the way down and put my B flat down here. Okay? And now you will notice that it looks very similar to the original. The only difference is that in the original, I have all 4 eighth notes that are beamed together. This has 2 eighth notes that are beamed together, 2 eighth notes that are beamed together. They still will be exactly the same. You do not have to put them together. Okay? That is just merely for like design purpose. It has nothing to do with the way it sounds. I can play this measure and play this measure, and they are exactly the same. Okay? Now what we want to do is we're going to keep moving forward. You'll notice that this chord and this chord are the same. Okay? So if those chords are the same, there's a couple different little things that I can do to make your life a little easier. The first thing I want to do is if they're the same, right, why couldn't I copy and paste? Which I can. So I'm going to double click on the note in the chord, any note in this chord. If I double click on it, you'll notice that the entire chord is highlighted. Now I'm going to hit Control C. And before I do anything else, I want to also take note that all of these notes are tied over. So now I'm going to click the tie button, and it will make all those ties. Now I'm going to move the cursor over here, and I'm going to hit Control V. And it's going to make that chord. The only problem is, don't click anything else, leave it highlighted, because you'll notice that it made it an eighth note, because that's what this is. But this is not an eighth note, this is a what? It's a quarter note. And what kind of quarter note is it? See these little things next to it? It's a dotted quarter note. So what I want to do is come up here and I want to make it a quarter note and put the dot on it. Guys, I'm asking that you're not talking to one another as we're doing this. I'm asking that you just pay attention because your voices will be picked up on this video. So please don't talk, just pay attention. Now I want to create the very last chord in the measure. So I'm going to come over here to where this eighth rest is, and I'm going to create the G on the top. Click on it again so I can make my C underneath it. Click on it again, put my A flat down here. Click on it again, put my E flat down here. Okay. Double click on it, and I'm going to click Control C. And now I'm going to put another tie on it because if you look here, this last chord in the measure is tied over to the next one. So now I'm in the next measure here. I'm going to click Control V to paste that chord there. And luckily for you, look, it happens again. There's another eighth note. Well, all I have to do is come over here and just click paste again. Control V. Okay? So now this piece is really starting to look like the original piece. At this point, again, like I said before, a good practice would be click save, so you're saving your work. And then at this point, what I want to do is I want to continue working. Okay, so you're just going to keep continuing to enter the notes in. I come over to this third measure now. And in my third measure, I have, after the first two chords, I have 2 G eighth notes. So I'm going to come over here, put a G, make it an eighth note. Put another G, make it an eighth note. Okay. And then I have all this brand new chord that I have to build from the top down, or bottom up, however you'd like to work. This B flat on the top, E flat here, then another B flat, which is here, and a G underneath that, and then a C on the bottom. Okay. And then I have followed by 3 B flat eighth notes. So here's my B flat, another one, and one last one. Okay. I click save, make sure I'm saving. Okay. Notice how I'm working from left to right. I'm not jumping around. Okay. I can go back now. It's probably a good idea for me to, so I keep both of them the same. I can work in my bass clef. So if I want to go back here, in bass clef I have an eighth note, which is an A flat, which I'm going to put over here, an eighth note. Then I have an eighth rest. Then if I click on this rest, I'm going to make that an eighth rest as well, because that will look exactly like the one I have here. Then I have a G, which is an eighth note up here. Now G is tied over, so I'm going to tie, right? The tie right here. By the way, it's a smart idea if you learn some of the shortcuts. It will just make your life a little bit easier. So if you notice, if someone's saying, how's he putting the tie and changing it to an eighth note so fast? I'm using keyboard shortcuts. If you hover over a button, it will tell you what the shortcut actually is. For duration, you can use the bracket keys that are just to the right of the letter P on your keyboard. Those bracket keys will either make a note shorter value, so the one on the left will make it a shorter value, like a 16th or 32nd, or make it a longer value if you click the one to the right, so make it like a quarter or a half. Okay, I need it to be an eighth note. And then to do the tie, you can use the comma key that will tie a note over, which is what I'm trying to do here. And I'm tying it over to a quarter note here, so I'm going to make that a quarter note. And then I can use the period to actually put the dot on it, like this has. Okay. 90% of the problems that people run into are because they forget all the little things, like a rest or a tie or a dotted note or things like that. Okay. They're usually not big things. They're the little things that will add up. Okay. If you don't put this rhythm dot on here, you don't put the dot on the quarter note, this is what you're going to end up with. Let me take this off. Notice what your last rest is. Your last rest now is a quarter rest, okay? So if I only have to put an eighth note here, and I do this eighth note, make that an eighth note, what's the problem? Now I have this extra rest. I don't need that. So make sure that you are putting it exactly the way it needs to be as you're going along. And that way, I promise everything you're entering will be exactly what it needs to be as you're moving along, okay? So at this point, this is really, I'm going to click save again. This is really just a matter of entering the notes in one at a time. I will guarantee you that you may not be fast the first time on the first 4 measures, but I'll guarantee you the second 4 measures will be even faster than your first one. And that by the time you hit line 3, it'll be even faster. By the time you hit to the end, it'll be even faster. Okay? That's the reason why we're doing this. It's very good practice for you to do this. Again, trying not to suppress your creativity on the next project when you guys actually have to create your own. You don't want to have to spend time with, oh, I don't know how to enter the notes. That's why we're trying to get you to enter the notes in right now. Okay? So with that being said, I'm going to end the video. You guys can review this video as need be, as many times as you like. Go back. It's probably a good idea to go back and watch and rewatch and then rewatch again. And then it's just a process of just entering the notes in one at a time. Okay, so let me end this video and I'll post this to Google Classroom.